Welcome back everyone to Welstopia, and today we are here on my camera account to have an overall picture of what Salt Marsh is like so far. Here we have the carpenter's house and shed. And down over here we have the path into the mines. Along the way from the rose bushes we lead to our nether portal down here. The dandelions are surrounding the area where we'll have the village green. And down here is where we're going to have our main road. The commerce for this area is going to be mainly through a road path going along here where we have these torches going down up to the northwest there. We have a village about 20 miles away, more like a town, that's named Burrell. And down 20 miles this way is Seaton, which is a seaport. And between Seaton and Burrell, they come about here about 20 miles from each of these. So this is a natural resting point of them. It's a 4-day journey between the two areas, and they'll often take a little bit of a rest here in Salt Marsh during the 2-day point. Therefore, we're going to need a small trading post over here where the merchants trade some of their stuff with the local merchant, who then in turn sells it at the market here in Salt Marsh. And there'll also be a small inn here that caters down to the merchants. Now, there is going to be a tavern up on the hill next to the green, and that tavern mainly provides for the locals. So we have one for the locals here, and we have one for the merchants coming in and out. As I said, these are probably going to be small establishments since we're not talking about a particularly large village here. But we do have those merchants coming by here every so often, probably a merchant train a day going in each direction. But they're mainly there to sell between Seaton and Burrell. Now, Burrell is a landlocked area, Seaton is on a port. So the idea there is you bring the goods to Seaton and then you come to the Burrell. Now, you may be wondering, why not just bring things into sea to Salt Marsh? And that's because this place isn't really set up for merchant ships all that well. We know what happens to ships that try to come here. And maybe there are occasional boats that might come from Seaton or something like that if they wanted to get here, something here quickly, but most of the trade is going to actually come by road. Now, this road is going to be traveling through here, down here like that, and it's going to twist around here because we're not going to go up through these hills too high. Now, it's possible I might just decide to come through here where we've got that little bit of a ravine. I'll check that out. Most likely I'll come through here, around here, and that allows me to readily go between these 2 points on the marsh, and then it'll head out in this direction. And that eventually will get you to Seaton as it hugs the marsh, and then eventually the coast when the land firms up. The idea there, though, is to make sure the path does not get waterbogged too much, but that we do have as close to the coast as possible otherwise. Now, the other thing to note is that this will bring us close to the haunted house. I lost my haunted house. Oh, here it is. Yes, these 8 torches represent where I'll be placing the haunted house. Now, I will be building the haunted house during the month of October, since I thought that would be appropriate for there. So today I am then going to work on the road. So let me switch to my main account where we are going to be doing some road building. Back down to earth on my main account. I am here along the path where this road is going to go. Right here is the narrowest point that I have planned, which goes right by the old mine here. Perhaps this was created as a little outpost for customs at some point. Whether it's active or not is another matter. But right now, not much is going on here, and people sometimes use it as a shelter as they're going along the way. Though not nearly as comfortable as the inn that we will be building, and most likely I'll take that down once the inn gets built. Now the inn is going to be right down around here with the trading post, so that's nice and convenient towards Saltmarsh. This is where it dips the furthest towards the south before swinging back up. And of course it's going down and up along there in order to avoid going up and down the hills there, since that's the way roads operate usually. So at this northernmost point is also the southernmost point is also the closest we have to Saltmarsh, because the borders of Saltmarsh are represented by these walls here. So therefore I imagine that the tavern is, or I should say the inn is going to be right here to service the people, and that the trading post will be right next to it, and most likely the merchant owns both of those establishments. And if you have a merchant that, or some other non-merchant traveler, they may just use the shelter, especially those who can't afford the prices at the inn and all that stuff. The ones who don't have enough money in order for the owner of the inn to care what happens to them. Probably adventurers traveling along rather than the merchants themselves. We'll have two routes after you pass by here. One possibility is to go up and around here. This has its inconveniences where you're going into higher ground. You have to travel up and down and the like. But it avoids the marshier locations. The other could be coming through here, and this can be trickier. I'll probably have to do a little terraforming this location here and have that go up there. Let's head up here. And this can go here then. Up like this, and this will eventually lead us down to the swampy area. Probably we'll have to break off by now because we want to go around that way. So if I decide to create both roads, I could have a bypass and a more direct one. When it tends to go more on hills, when it tends to be flatter, then we could go around like that. And right there we have the haunted house. The haunted house needs to be within view, but I don't want it to be too close, so to speak, because we don't want to be sitting right on top of it. Something that can be seen from the distance on the road. So most likely then I will break off and not actually climb this hill. Now one possibility is that we have this route that might be slightly more convenient perhaps, but people avoid it because of the haunted house. That's a possibility and something to think of. So therefore I have two potential routes, and since I haven't decided exactly which of the two I'll build, or if I'll build both of them, we'll start in the other direction first. One of the things we need to know is how wide to make our road. Now that of course depends on how much traffic you have, how fast that you want them to go, and stuff like that. We're not talking about modern day roads here, so therefore we don't need to go by your neighborhood standards, we're going to have wagons going in each direction. And I figure 5 blocks should be sufficient for it. Now, there'll probably usually be a little place on the side where you can go, maybe a shoulder or something like that, especially near where you're about to go into narrower bits. And that's what I'll do here. Now, right here, though, you could see that you've got this little spot here, and we go down to 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have 5. And what we do have is this bit of water right here. So what I want to do is, no, not netherrack, dirt, is to fill that in. So that we'll still be wide enough here and not have to worry about it. But once we get through here, I don't think we're going to have any real trouble. Let's see. Let's go by that height right there. So I think I got a little bit more that I want to fill in. That'll do for the moment. We don't want to go any further until we decide what the road is going to be made out of. And there are several choices of material. Now, of course, we could go with a dirt road, but to do a proper dirt road, we are going to need coarse dirt. I don't think I'm going to be able to find too much of that. I know I get gravel, mix it in there, and stuff like that, but I have a feeling that will be in short supply, so I really don't want to use coarse dirt. And that means our next natural possibility would, of course, be doing a path. The thing about paths is that it looks more like something for foot traffic, and yes, there's probably a great deal of foot traffic going along here, but this is also much designed for wagons going to and from Burl and Seaton. So therefore, I'm not too keen on that one. In fact, when I go branching out here, I might decide to make one a footpath and the other one the main road. That's something to consider. Therefore, I am going to use cobble. It'd be nice if I had something in between that I could use that wasn't going to be too resource expensive. But cobble is cheap, and it sounds like something one could make a road from. Now, I may throw in some variation here and there after building the basic road. I know that after seeing enough Wells Night stuff, Wells will probably do about 10 times as much variation as I would do. But I think right now we want to get our basic road put into here. And the level for this road, oh yes, another reason for cobble is, of course, I want something that has slabs and stairs on it so that I could have go up and down and not have it be too abrupt. And cobble fits that perfectly. I know I just laid a lot of this down, but I think right here by this door here would be the perfect spot that I want. I don't want to be too close to the door. I want this to be 5 wide, so I figure this then is what we could have go here like this. And then we could go around that path there and try to keep it 5 wide as much as possible. Sometimes terrain may force me to narrow it. I would then have to either alter the terrain or go with a narrow road at that point, and I could judge that based on the current situation. I'm getting a little close to the hill here, but I have a feeling that is going to be happening a great deal. Now, there is the matter of having a little bit of a gutter on the side for drainage, and Considering that we are next to a swamp here, I think drainage is going to be a significant concern. Therefore, I figure that we could have these here. We could do this in stone brick. Actually, on this side, maybe not as much on that side. I think at this side, when we're in somewhere else where we could effectively drain on either side, maybe we could do it on both sides. But on this one, maybe the curve mid-road will have to be slanted in such a way that all the water goes down there, because I don't think we really want the water collecting here. I think that'll be creating a problem. Of course, we've got a hill right there also, which isn't exactly going to be fun. So they'll probably have to have some way of having this break off and go down this way. We may have to make a culvert or something like that. But that's long-term plans when we're talking about civil engineering. And right now, I just want a little bit of road to help me to show where I want things to be, where to build the inn, and most of all, how to more easily find that haunted house. I always get lost when I go there, and if I'm going to start building that next month, I'm going to need to be able to find the location. As I'm coming through this section, I'll be reaching a spot where we have the andesite. And I think here we'll just leave the andesite as it is. I know it makes it a little bit more difficult to tell where the road is, but then we could just think maybe, well, I was going to say smooth down, but we're not using smooth andesite there. Hopefully we'll just figure out, yes, this is where the road is located. And I have a feeling that as I'm building this, I'm going to go through a lot of shovels, but I don't feel like heading out and building a new one right now, so therefore we'll just take those little out like this. And before I do that section there, I am going to need to, first thing I'll need to is, do I really want to go up there? Yeah, I think it's time to climb the hill and get going in that direction. And do I have any? I only have the stone brick stairs. I want some, actually some cobble slabs might be better for this particular occasion. Place is now turning into a work office. Now, let's try this because we don't want to do things too abruptly. I figure we could go towards this height. Because we've been going around this height, we could go for 2 up in this way. And now we can have our first time where we are going to be up here, and we can stay up here until, well, as long as possible, and wind around hills, because I want to climb as few hills as possible as we are doing this. And as you can see, eventually we get to go back down. What goes up must come down. The next trick is deciding what to do with slight curves like what we have here. As you can see, I did get myself a new shovel, and apparently I went a little crazy on the enchanting table. It gave me efficiency 4 and silk touch, which might be a bit overkill for what I wanted for this situation. Now, if I were terraforming and needed a large number of grass blocks, yeah, that would probably have been a very ideal thing. So I'm sure I could put those grass blocks to good use later on. So you can see here I made this 6 wide here. The idea then is to add a little extra width when I am doing, oops, not that one, is to add a little bit extra width during the points where I'm curving around, and that way we could not be as tight on the matter because we want to make sure that we don't have any accidents as a result of things being too narrow when carts are passing by each other. So I thought going by a group of 5, 5, and 6 when we are bending off a little bit will help the road a little bit. And we'll go a few that way, then do another one of those shifts, and hopefully we get all the way around here without too much trouble. Though right here we are going to have to take that out. And what am I going to do about that little pond? Around it? Obviously I was originally thinking going outside and around, mainly perhaps to get closer to Pine Ridge there. Not Pine Ridge, to Salt Marsh over there. But it may be better just to do this. Curve back here, or I really don't want to fill in the pond. So I'll probably just have to still come out here anyway. Partly is because influence with the merchant, they didn't want to fill in the pond because that was probably used as a water stop for it, because originally I'm sure people would have camped out here, and if they're camping out there, you obviously don't go and fill in the nearest pond there because that was probably the best water in the area. And in fact, that's probably where the inn will go. Of course, co-opt the best water source. We're talking about a not always scrupulous merchant here. I have built my road all the way down to the northwest corner of my territory. I'm stopping there since that's the end of the road from the point of view of where I am building. I can't build past there. But we could imagine that the road actually continues well past there, all the way up the barrel. And then on this end, I also continued the other way, past here. And in the end, I just decided to build the one-way around up to here. I did some flattening around here. I am rising a little bit, but as you can see, I did take down some stuff. I may have to re-terraform that a bit so that looks a little bit better in the long run. And then I continue all the way around here through the swamp. And I'm not ending at the end of my territory here. I may extend this out to the end later on, but for now I am ending this because this is where the haunted house is going to be placed, where you see those torches up there. Now I may adjust exactly where I want it, but now I'm in the right area, and I think after the haunted house is built, it'll probably be visible from this location. And the haunted house, getting it started, is what we'll begin with when we return next time, where we could finally get to the one of the main components to this storyline, where we have the haunted house, which is, to me, probably the most important build in the entire thing. And with the next episode starting in October, I think it'll be a fitting time to do it. Until then, though, this is Pineleaf reminding you to mine responsibly.